I can't believe that we're actually saying there are new developments with 38 studios, but there are new developments with 38 studios. Welcome into My State of Mind. I am Dan York. On our Friday programs, just the Friday audience knows this. We record our Friday programs on Thursday. And a little secret, we actually were going to take a day off for tonight, but we thought, you know what? After Tim and Ted broke what they did on Target 12 and WDPRI.com regarding 38 studios, that we had to react. And then when a press conference was called yesterday afternoon, Thursday at 2 o'clock, by good government groups reacting to Tim and Ted's journalism, we said we had to bring them in. And so here we are with the broadcast tonight on a Friday evening. Thank you for watching. 3 times, of course, you can see the show, 7:30 and 11:30 on MyRI TV and on Fox Providence at midnight. Long time ago, there was this guy, Curt Schilling, right? He was a Red Sox player. He got into this multi-online gaming industry thing and brought a program company called 38 Studios to Rhode Island, and a $125 million loan guarantee was offered by the General Assembly and Governor Chartier at the time to support businesses of whatever kind in their entrepreneurial endeavors. Turns out the entire loan guarantee program was actually designed for 38 studios, but the people who voted to support it did not know that, except for perhaps the Speaker of the House. Well, it had to be him, right? And a couple of others. Well, Gordon Fox, who's now in jail for other things, tells us all the time and told us all the time that he was not the originator of this idea. In fact, he really didn't know much about it until it kind of came across his desk, and when it did, it was a hot potato and he threw it away, you know. Guess what? Court documents in the civil litigation that the state has against defendants trying to get some money back on this $100 million hit have turned up something very different. The great work by Tim White and Ted Nesi uncovered this, and it became a Target 12 report.
Our team combed through hundreds of pages of court documents and discovered a new, significantly different narrative of what happened in the 38 Studios deal. For years, Rhode Islanders have been told the state's involvement with 38 Studios began with a chance meeting between former Governor Don Carcieri and Curt Schilling during a fundraiser at Schilling's Massachusetts home in March 2010.
I obviously had heard of Curt Schilling.
2 years later, during a taping of Newsmakers, then House Speaker Gordon Fox clearly stated he didn't get involved until after the party at Schilling's house.
Who called me after a meeting that apparently the governor had with Curt Schilling, said, what kind of programs can you introduce us to Keith Stokes? Okay.
Was that the first time you heard about
around the
38
company.
Studios?
First time in 38 Studios.
That statement conflicts with new revelations found in Rhode Island's lawsuit against key players in the 38 Studios deal. Lawyers for the state say Fox made contact with 38 Studios before Governor Carcieri attended the party. They write, unbeknownst to Governor Carcieri, Gordon Fox had previously met with defendant Schilling and 38 Studios board member Thomas Zaccanino.
I sat in a meeting with them. They started to talk about...
Fox has also repeatedly denied he was involved in carving out the plan for the state to back a $75 million loan to 38 Studios.
They talked. They made plans to meet again. I'm out of the picture.
But state lawyers say that was when Fox gave instructions to use the EDC to accomplish relocation of 38 Studios to Rhode Island. In court documents, Fox did not confirm nor deny the new details when he was questioned for the lawsuit. Lawyers for the defendants wrote, Fox refused to answer questions at deposition by invoking the Fifth Amendment. Fox is now in a federal prison in Pennsylvania in an unrelated case after pleading guilty to using campaign funds for personal gain and accepting a bribe. We reached out to Fox's lawyer. He did not return our call for comment, but there has been a reaction from lawyers representing defendants in the state's lawsuit. They say the new details are major developments in the case. With the Target 12 investigators, Tim White, Eyewitness News.
And you know, Tim spent some time on the radio yesterday with me, giving me the background on how they found all of this. Some of this stuff is public if you dig for it. Some of it is sealed if you can't. I mean, it's difficult. Ken Block, over here, you know him, ran for governor twice, moderate party creator, Republican invader, watchdogri.org creator. Welcome again.
Thank you, Dan.
And Monique Chartier is the communications director for Rhode Island Taxpayers.
Yes, Dan.
Good to see you.
Nice to be here.
You guys called a press conference yesterday afternoon, immediately after you saw this news, correct?
Correct.
And your mission was?
The mission was to capitalize on the new focus on this disaster in Rhode Island, a disaster that we don't have any explanation for. And this was the perfect opening to reemphasize it, point out the fact that we don't have answers, that the taxpayers are angry that we don't have the answers, and to push our elected leaders to do the right thing and provide the answers. Explain to us how this happened, who was responsible for it. If someone got rich off of it, tell us how it was, and then tell us what you're going to do to change the process so that it can't happen again.
You, Monique, are part of the taxpayers group. You were one of 4 groups that got together all on the same page on this?
Yes, that's correct.
And was it hard to get everybody on the same page on this?
No, it was pretty clear, and we all cleared our schedules, and it was Ken's idea, and it was a very good idea.
What's your gut say about this development that we've learned about?
I think it's significant because it's now very clear that former Speaker Fox lied. He blatantly lied about his involvement and who started the entire proposal to give 38 studios a loan guarantee. And it's now becoming, there's a huge question now, or maybe it's becoming clear, that did he bring this about to enrich himself? That's now a significant question. Because as you know, in a prior WPRI investigation, there were very lucrative contracts that went, big coincidence, to Michael Corso, who's some would call a crony of Gordon Fox. So I don't think it was a coincidence. I think that.
Yeah, the details in this story are so hard, and I think there's so many taxpayers and voters and constituents in Rhode Island who just want to go, oh, you know, oh. So it's hard to go back. But Monique points to the other part of the financing that Curt Schilling was looking for, which was tax credits, and
yes.
And Mr. Corso, who was a landlord to Gordon Fox's husband. And whatever other business arrangements that is a tax credit broker and was very intimately involved in these conversations. And so, who knows? What's your instinct tell you about this?
Well, my instinct is that we certainly don't have any of the answers that we deserve. There's certainly insider dealing going on. We don't know what the insider deals were. We know that the speaker was jammed up on at least one thing. There was probably more things in the background. And we deserve to know. People are upset. I think that some of the blowback on the stadium proposal, on the relocation of the Paw Sox, I think one of the reasons it's so highly unpopular is because taxpayers don't trust our elected leaders under the cloud of what 38 Studios was.
I want to talk to you about that. There's an interesting dynamic. I want to hear from my guests what they think about what I perceive to be maybe anger but lethargy amongst the constituents, yet anger pops up maybe not so constructively. Stay with us. Chambers of our General Assembly. Sometimes I think it's better to look at it empty. There's not so much damage being done. Oh, there they are. Well, hard at work. Whoops, oh well. Yeah, you know, there was a moment anyway. Excuse my end of the week summertime sarcasm, but I have to tell you, this General Assembly has just walked away. I am so incredibly flummoxed by the idea that this General Assembly is so full of people who've walked away from responsibility on 38 Studios. If you just tuned in, Ken Block and Monique Chartier here to talk about their good government call on Governor Raimondo et al. To begin formal investigations based on the journalism that Ted and Tim did on Channel 12, Tim White and Ted Nesi. You got to see that WPRI.com story, or at least read it. Because now we learn that there's more evidence that Gordon Fox was right in the beginning of all of this 38 Studios thing. You have a reflection on the pulse of the public? You started to talk about the Paw Sox deal, and I want to talk about ramifications later. But I get a general sense that people are exhausted by 38 Studios, angry but exhausted, yet their anger gets filled with adrenaline when a new public project comes up and people don't trust.
I'm not even sure they're exhausted, and I think that they're probably frustrated, and I think they are angry, but I don't know that they're exhausted. I mean, this is a lot of money, $89 million. Why? Who knew? Who set it up? Who was standing to profit from it?
You don't think that people in general just roll their eyes and say, ah,
I honestly don't see that, but
Is it because you hang out with all these good government types
Maybe.
that you sit around wonking all day long, just
Maybe.
worrying about how you're going to change the world? That's a good thing, though. I'm glad you do that. But I mean, you two are advocates. If I went downtown Pawtucket and asked, 10 people, what do you think about 38 Studios, and are you as angry as Monique and Ken are today? What do you think their answers would be?
I think people are angry about the insider nature of the deal. I think that they are. After 5 years, I mean, how long can you maintain a focus on it, right? That's one of the challenges here. I mean,
it's $100 million of debt. We voted to pay it. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I know that they're all dirty up there anyway. That kind of thing.
Well, and that infects. And I know you want to get to it, but it's that attitude. They're all dirty. That's status quo for how things happen in Rhode Island, but that is what stands in our way, right? And I think people understand that this kind of activity, this kind of governance, this kind of scandal really kills us. And people want to see the answer. They want to see us disinfect and cleanse ourselves, understand what drove this process, and ensure it doesn't happen again. I think people really need that.
I couldn't agree more. You and I share the same analysis. And the Paw Sox Stadium is an example, although I think the Paw Sox have done a very good job of blowing their right foot off so far in this whole thing. So, and Mattiello, the speaker, and the guy running the 195 Redevelopment Commission, taking the negotiations now behind closed doors after it was first a public discussion, is problematic even without the cloud of 38 Studios,
That's
right?
exactly right, and it's an enormous red flag. I mean, this is how we got 38 Studios. Now they're negotiating the stadium behind closed doors. Maybe there's nothing going on, but I think it's a really bad way to go.
I mean, if it had first come behind closed doors, I mean, people have to operate behind closed doors in order to be able to do good work. But when it starts publicly and retreats to closed doors, that's, I think, when we got a problem. But even if it was handled beautifully, I think people would be very upset about the use of any taxpayer money to do anything because of
38 Studios.
38 Studios. And that's what we're trying to purge here, right?
Right. I think, look, Speaker Mattiello is a relatively new speaker. We have a brand new governor. They both need to clear the air so they can do the jobs that they've been elected to do. And this reluctance to clear the air, I don't understand.
All right, well, to remind everybody, in the press conference yesterday, you guys asked for what?
We asked for what we consider to be 4 very basic things. We want the judge in the lawsuit that the state has brought against all the different vendors who participated in this problem. We want the judge to release and unseal all the documents.
Open the documents.
Open the documents.
All right, number 2.
Number 2, we want Governor Raimondo to launch an independent investigation to allow somebody who's not to be influenced by Rhode Island politics to come in and do what needs to be done.
Okay, we'll get that next segment. Number 3.
We want Speaker Mattiello to grant subpoena powers to Representative Macbeth's House Oversight Committee, who has been investigating 38 Studios.
Okay.
We want people on the record, under oath, under the lights.
Number 4?
And number 4, we believe that the 38 Studios, 38 Stadium, the Paw Sox problem, we want the Paw Sox relocation to be done publicly, and we want as much public disclosure as possible.
That's a bonus item. We talked about that. Of the 3 things that you guys are requesting, how many do you think will get done?
But as long as they don't get done, there's going to be suspicion by the public, and the larger picture you were talking about, broader implications. There's a broader implication to the image of the state and the state's business climate and bringing businesses here.
Well, let me tell you something. The governor may be inconsistent, and we'll show you the proof of that when we come up in the next segment. But right now, let me show you what the consistent Speaker of the House has said in reaction to their requests. Tim White got this from Larry Berman, the spokesperson for the House Speaker. Quote, former Speaker Fox has admitted to serious criminal offenses and is currently serving time in federal prison. The newest allegation about his involvement in the 38 Studios deal does not change the fact that the General Assembly is not an investigative body. And so he suggests if the state police, the Attorney General, or the FBI feel that they want to do it, let them do it. So you're 0 for 1. How does that feel?
But except that they are an investigative body and they have subpoena power. So I'm a little confused as to why Speaker Mattiello wouldn't permit subpoenas to be issued.
I don't understand 2 things. Why he's so politically brain not connected to what people think about this. If he has nothing to do with 38 Studios, as he will assert publicly often, then he should be an activist in giving his chance for the General Assembly to clear its own deck.
No question about it.
If he's culpable, that's why he's running. And does he not get that that's the only two choices or decisions or reactions that people are making?
Right.
Right,
And
so.
just to be clear, with the revelations that Tim White and Ted Nesi brought forward on Wednesday night, it's clear now that the General Assembly, through the leadership of Speaker Fox, that was the genesis for the 38 Studios. That's what came out. That's what the nugget is.
Mattiello was his right-hand guy as majority leader.
And Mattiello was the number 2.
Well, you know, majority leader is number 2, but he was like a deep third number 2 because they were having conflicts. Steve Constantino, by the way, was the finance chairman. He went through a whole role play the night that they passed this thing. He's now in Vermont doing some health and human services work, or whatever the heck he's doing. He's out of Dodge. A hearing would bring him back.
That's exactly right.
Correct?
Yes. Or a state police investigation.
Why don't state reps demand this? And why don't the people, this is the lethargy I'm talking about, why don't the people demand that the state reps demand this?
Well, that's why we held the press conference we held today. And by the way, I don't think we talked about which groups were involved. It was Watchdog Rhode Island, it was the Rhode Island Taxpayers.
That's Mike.
We had the Rhode Island Center for Freedom and Prosperity, Mike Stenhouse's
That's
group.
Stenhouse.
And we had Operation Clean Government in the form of Margaret Kane.
Well, it's nice to see OCG back in the fold. They've been kind of, you know, I'm sure they're doing good work, but I don't hear much from them these days. In the old days, feels like you've been around long enough to know the old days, they were at it all the time. So maybe we're getting a consortium of good government groups here to kind of re-energize the total watchdoginess of the state. You feel like that's happening?
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely with this.
But to the question, what does your gut tell you about why state reps don't call on their own speaker to say, come on, man, enough. This thing is killing me.
But that's exactly what they need to do. And
Why don't they do it?
Speculation that they
Yeah.
were afraid of confronting the speaker, possibly.
Why don't they do it?
I believe that there is definitely this issue where leadership has such a stranglehold over what the General Assembly does, and that the penalty for stepping out of line can be quite severe, that reps have to think long and hard before they actually challenge the power structure in the General Assembly.
All right, well, you know, if you're going to score on consistency, Mattiello has been saying, I'm not helping this thing the entire way. The governor, different story. Stay tuned.
Are you going to order an independent investigation?
Yes, I will. But first, let me say, I was one of the first and loudest voices against 38 Studios. As a candidate running for treasurer, I was one of the first people to say, don't make this investment. And I can assure you, had I been governor, this would not have happened. And now we find ourselves, as we all...
And so that was the answer that Gina Raimondo gave to Tim White back in June of 2014 during the Democratic primary season for governor. Did you hear what I heard? Did she say, yes, I will?
Yes.
Did you hear her say, yes, I will?
I did.
Well, guess what? Now there's a caveat. We're recording this show, don't tell anybody, Thursday afternoon. So there could have been Friday developments on this, and if we missed them, I'll catch up on Monday, with or without my guests. I'm sure they'll be all over it too. But here's what Ted Nesi, one of the stars of this journalistic show here, have tweeted out about what the governor's saying now. The governor remains fully committed to uncovering any wrongdoing with 38 Studios. The first step, however, is to complete the ongoing litigation. This is an important and essential step in establishing facts, proving culpability, and recovering taxpayer dollars. We do not want to interfere or jeopardize this litigation in any way. The governor supports the Commerce Corporation's request to the court to lift the confidentiality order, providing full transparency and public disclosure. So she's with you on disclosure. That's progress.
Yes.
But she doesn't want to get in front of this thing or in the middle of this thing. Your words, I have my own, your words.
I don't understand what the hesitancy is. I don't believe conducting an investigation should impede the trial and the settlement process that's going on right now. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't understand all the intricacies of it. I'd love to talk to a lawyer and have somebody justify why you can't do both simultaneously. But I do believe that for Governor Raimondo to do a lot of the work that she wants to do that requires the General Assembly and requires public-private partnerships and deals to be done, we've got to get the air cleared before we can successfully do that.
Yeah, I think these like Stephen Pryor, the Commerce Corporation guy, I think these folks that she's brought in some fresh air. She's brought in a breath of fresh air, some out-of-state thinking. But what they don't get is the underbelly of psychology that exists in the state right now to support the projects that they want.
This was a deal that has gone horribly wrong, and Rhode Island needs answers. Why is she protecting a prior administration? Why is she not asking for answers? And why has she so blatantly flipped on not calling for an investigation? It's very disturbing.
Why. I know why.
Why is that?
Because she and Nick Mattiello aren't getting along very well. And she wants truck tolls. She's learned to negotiate or navigate her way through and measure politics. But once you start to measure politics to the point where it starts to measure you, you're in a little bit of trouble. She wants truck tolls.
Right.
Mattiello doesn't want truck tolls.
Right. You
want to tick off Nick Mattiello, an old-fashioned pal? Shove this investigation down his throat, and he'll tell you where to shove your truck tolls. Okay. So that's part of what's going on. And
I would consider that to be a win-win.
Amen. Unfortunately, Gina likes the truck tolls, right? Because if we get the truck tolls, right behind that, guess who's going to get tolled? You,
exactly.
Me, you, all of us. That's my theory on it. The other thing is that she's still doing business with First Southwest, one of the defendants in the case.
It's unbelievable.
There's so much incestuousness. I mean, a radio listener sent me this information. Could be a TV viewer as well. She talks about the idea that there's just so many players that are in this thing like this. A real subpoena type investigation might blow it all up and give us the political enema we all need. And maybe she doesn't want that. I don't know.
That's exactly what we need. Absolutely, we need that.
And that's exactly what we're asking for. We didn't use the word enema, but that's what we,
we need to kind of, cleanse the political pipes here. I mean, this is, this state is, sorry for the third metaphor, backed up in a lot of ways. It really is, and it's just not healthy, because no one wants to be constipated in their economic development and moving the state forward. I could go on. You want a fifth?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
You guys, why don't you take it from here? I think I've more or less said all I need to say on a Friday night. No,
yeah, we've got the whistle come all the way off.
No, well, look, if you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Exactly.
Because people have been screaming. Your summary judgment on all of this and what you're looking for.
We need to know exactly what is going on, what happened with 38 Studios before we can move forward, both for the image of the state and also for an accountability of what happened with all that money.
Succinctly said. Your summary judgment?
If we are going to come out from under the cloud that we're in, we need the answers. Bring us the answers. Do your job. This is why everyone is up there what they're elected for. They're elected to lead. It's not leadership if we brush this under the rug. This has to be brought out.
And why do you think you can convince constituents to re-engage now?
Because it's new information, and it's clear, abundantly clear, that Gordon Fox lied so blatantly. And I think, by the way, also this is new information that could possibly, hopefully, bring in the U.S. Attorney to say, this is new information, maybe we need to take a fresh look at criminal implications of 38 Studios.
Yeah, boy, the U.S. Attorney doesn't want any of this. There's a rumor that we have an Attorney General in this state.
I've heard it.
Yeah. The Rhode Island State Police I trust implicitly, but they report to a guy who doesn't want any piece of this because he was part of the crew.
That's right. That's why we need an outside investigator. There's no question.
Keep pounding away, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, one more thing and we come back. Can I just say, without the good work of Tim White and Ted Nesi, this kind of progress doesn't happen. Journalistic investigation is so important to keep the public trust. So good for those guys, and I hope they dig some more out, and we'll be here to analyze it as we go. And every once in a while, I'll find a gem. Your state of mind is important to us. Let us know what you think. Call us, email us. You know what you got to do. All righty. Well, have a good weekend. We'll see you Monday night. Good night.